Hi there! In the previous episode, we presented the route of our expedition on the first day of hiking. We talked about where we had set off from, we outlined the exact route we were following, and we talked about the surrounding nature as well as the glacial landforms along which our trail was set. Don't forget to like, subscribe and comment. Enjoy watching! On the second day, we were woken by black flies, of which there are many here. They didn't bite, but they mostly sat on our eyebrows and didn't let us sleep. As soon as we got up, we started preparing breakfast. We had a traditional Finnish breakfast, oatmeal with red lingonberry jam. There was also our favorite coffee, which we make on every camping trip. By the way, in one of the episodes about Inari, we talked about making coffee in the Finnish way. You can find the link in the description of the video. breakfast, we went down to the Lemmenjoki river, where we took a boat to the other bank. The boat was in the middle of the river, so we had to pull it to the shore. To make it move, we had to pull it with a rope stretched over a spring. After crossing the river Lemmenjoki, we traveled along one of its tributaries, which has the character of a meandering river in its estuary section. It can be admired from its high banks, undercut by bends. There are day huts on the trails. It is unlikely that you will need to spend the night in them, except in emergencies such as heavy rain or similar conditions that make it unsafe to camp outdoors. The hut has a table, benches, and a wood stove for warming up and cooking. Outside, there are places to make a fire, a woodshed, and a dry toilet. Is a slow-flowing river in the wide valley, taking on a mountainous character where it narrows. There were water taxis on Lemmenjoki that took tourists along the route, twice a day from Nurgulahti through Ravadas to Hultahamina. In the beginning, we walked through the so-called dark taiga, which is dominated by spruce with some Swiss pine and alder, with some juniper in the undergrowth and shrubby undergrowth, mainly blueberry, redberry, and crowberry. And we were accompanied on the walk by Siberian jays and Siberian tits. A typical animal in this part of the taiga is the reindeer, which roam alone or in herds. Along the way, we picked some birch leaves that had grown. We collected them for lunch. section of the route we walked before lunch, we crossed the Ravadasjoki, one of the tributaries of the Lemmenjoki, which we will mention in the next episode. At this point, it has the character of a typical mountain river, being a gravely graded river. Inspired by Italian cuisine, mushroom sauce on bacon and orecchiette pasta, and we drank it all with our favorite tea with honey and nut. Only show the distance in kilometers, but not the altitude, so the time needed to complete a section is usually underestimated when planning the route. So, while we were having lunch before the last 5 kilometers of the day's walk, the Finns and regular visitors to the park were already having dinner and preparing their campsites, and that was around 6 p.m. It didn't bother us that we still had a few more kilometers to go, especially as we were accompanied by white knights, so we weren't worried about getting lost in the dark. We started to climb the Gasko Ivy Hill. The landscape began to change and we slowly moved from taiga to forest tundra. At first, The landscape was dominated by birch trees, which dwarfed as we gained altitude until finally, on the rise, we were surrounded by shrub tundra with willows. The tundra is dominated by dwarf birches, bog bilberries, black crowberry, dwarf willow species, single Swiss pine, lingonberry, mountain avens, arctic yellow violet, alpine forget-me-not, and drooping saxifrage.
Climbing this hill, you can see that the slopes have steep flattenings highlighted by clusters of stones. Frost segregation processes form elongated clusters within these shapes. These are created by solifluxions, a type of periglacial processes. When the ground freezes, it swells and rises, perpendicular to the surface. When the ground thaws, the surface lowers in the direction of gravity, causing material to slide. In addition, once the top ground layer has thawed, when it's saturated with water, it creeps down on the deeper frozen layer. This results in the formation of sloping tongues of material with a steeper front. These forms are called solifluction tongues.
Głupio to wygląda, ale wszyscy tak robią.
In the tundra zone, interesting circular shapes of stones can be seen in flat areas. These are structural soils, characteristic of Arctic soils. They are formed by freezing and thawing of the ground, that is, periglacial processes. Freezing causes material to segregate. The coarser, stony material is pushed outwards, while the finer material remains inside.
Before midnight, we reached Morya, a historic gold prospector settlement with a campsite, open wilderness hut, and a hut and sauna for hire. We spent the night in the campsite under a tarp as we wanted to keep our equipment as light as possible. We will tell you about this place in the next episode.